Mirëmëngjes e erdhët nga qyteti Rogozhina. Mrapa mua është stadiumi Ignatia, edhe sot do të tregoj për historinë Raphael Dwamena. Raphael ka lindur në Ghana në 12 shtator në vitin 95. 28 vjet më vonë, në 19 nëntor 2023, ai vdiq pasi luajti një lojë futboll në këtë stadiumi. Ever since he was a child, people knew that Raphael Dwamena was special. He trained with the Red Bull Ghana Development Program. In 2013, he won the title of Best Player. And from 2014 to 2017, he played for FC Red Bull Salzburg, FC Liefering, Ghana and Austria Lustenau. He scored many goals and he started to become famous in Ghana and the rest of the world. In 2017, while he was playing for Ghana, he met Ibrahim Sani Dara.
I knew about Raphael even before he exploded onto the international scene. I knew about him actually when he was a kid playing in an academy here in Ghana. A few times I saw him play for the academy. He was a hugely talented player. And it was at a point inevitable that he would play for the Ghana national team, given his performances in Switzerland and Austria and all of those countries where he had played. And in his first matches for the national team, it was clear that he was going to be the replacement for Asamoah Gyan. But at a point, during those periods, I had a lot of interaction with him, and I could see that he had transformed from his humble self that I knew when he was a child into a very, very religious, Christian-focused person. He let religion lead him in whatever he did. And he had an unbelievable belief in God in whatever he does. He told me once, if God had willed, that ball would have entered the net. So he was single-minded in his knowledge or in his awareness of God in his life, and that carried him through and through.
I approached him, or I sent him a message via Instagram, because that's where he's mostly, replying to messages and stuff. So I sent him a message, and then he was like, he has seen me a lot on TV, radio, and I'm doing so well, so he's proud of me. And then we started a relationship from there. Raphael was a religious person, and he believes so much in God. And he's that person that anytime you speak with, he will just share the word of God with you, and that's the positive side of him, and I just love it. I'm also a religious person, so that's how we connected.
Raphael, during one of the pre-competition medical assessments with his clubs, picked up what we call the ventricular arrhythmia, which is a disease condition that affects the electrical system within the heart. If the electrical system gets diseased or there's a disorder which you call arrhythmia, then the rhythmic movement or the rhythmic performance of the heart gets compromised, and then this kind of pumping of blood becomes very chaotic. And then it can get to a point where whilst the top of the heart is contracting, the down is contracting, and blood is not moving to any part of the body. And then it can even lead to a cessation of the heart itself, because the electrical system will shut down. So this is a brief description of what Raphael had. His was a very severe form of it, and after that diagnosis, there were various schools of thought And some of us, including other physicians, thought the best options were, considering the severity of it, the best options were for him not to engage in any strenuous physical activity.
But despite the diagnosis, Raphael wanted to continue.
His single-mindedness in the fact that whatever happens to him, whether he lives or dies, whether he plays football or not play football, is dictated only by God, but not by humans.
In 2018, he moved to Levant and then to Zaragoza, but his symptoms kept causing problems. In 2019, doctors told him to quit football, but Raphael refused.
I remember I once had a conversation with him about the diagnosis and you know, the professionals telling him that he should stop and him wanting to continue. And he said that he doesn't think his life is in danger. He was absolutely certain in his belief that his life was not in danger and everything was to be dictated by God.
Raphael was fitted with a defibrillator. The device monitored his heart while he played and delivered electric shocks if his heart rate dropped or stopped.
He needed it in to be able to go about his normal daily activity, really, not to get to the extent of playing very high-level football. If you consider the severity of his ventricular arrhythmia, yes, he needed the ICD in there, but it was also very obvious that with even the ICD in there, if he exposed himself to very vigorous physical activity, his tendencies of even getting into a cardiac arrest, even with the ICD on, was high. So, and that was how come a number of clubs, although he even had an ICD on, were still very hesitant to sign him on to compete for them at that level.
He then went to play in Denmark before his heart started causing more and more problems. His contract was ended and the doctors told him again to quit football.
I was 100% aware of that, but I also believe that he was here for a reason, for a purpose. And then I couldn't complain because that is what he wanted to do. That's the decision. That was, to him, the right thing to do.
But Raphael did not listen to them and he continued to play. In June 2021, he signed with an Austrian club. 3 months later, he collapsed while playing. His contract ended and the doctors told him again that he must quit football. Në 2022, në nshkruaj me Ignatia dhe shënoi 20 gola në 28 ndeshje. Ai ishte një hero. Po ai kishte ndë problem me zemrën e tij. Mi pas, ai mori vendimin për të heqë defibrillatorin.
This is information we all got, and we confirmed it from various sources that at some point Raphael felt, in fact, he actually made a comment that he felt uncomfortable with it on, and was convinced that he could keep working even without this device.
Is it possible Raphael could have hidden the removal of the device from Ignatia Club? For example, would the device be visible during a regular medical check?
It's at this moment very difficult for me to even understand and believe that doctors actually validated the fact that he can't play even without the device. That was quite a very risky thing. I wouldn't blame him as an individual for taking the decision. If you have to do pre-competition medical, first of all, you'll pick the problem he has And secondly, if there's an ICD there, I mean, you are doing a heart scan, you will definitely see that, okay, there's a device there. If the device is not there, you see the problem. And then you know that this problem obviously needed you to have the ICD.
Is it also possible that Raphael disclosed the condition to the club and the device's removal, but then insisted to play? I mean, does that absolve the club of any responsibility if this was the case, if there was a conversation between the two of them on this?
It's a possibility, but it's up to the club to dig further. But that's a possibility, yes, for sure. Yet he has the right to decide that I can play without the ICD, but the club also has the right to say that without the ICD, you are a high-risk candidate for sudden cardiac arrest, and because of that, we would not want to give you the platform to play. If it happened, and coming out to say the player decided to take upon himself that risk, that does not exonerate the club from being unethical, in the sense that you knew it was going to cause harm, so you could have decided not to be a party to that decision.
I asked Ignatia if they knew just how serious his condition was and if they knew Raphael had removed the defibrillator.
Rafaeli ka ardhur në Shqipëri kur ishte trajner shptim duro. Dhe sipas rregullave të UEFA-s, FIFA-s, bën analizat në institucione shëndetësore të miratuara. Dhe neve na ka ardhur letra dhe kemi aty që është i shëndetshëm. Të gjitha provat fizike, të gjitha kontrollet me kësire silike dhe testet, Rafaeli i kishte maksimalisht. Ne nuk e dinim, vonë e kemi marrë vesh që Rafaeli e kishte hequr defibrillatorin, të cilin nuk e ka hequr në Shqipëri, por e ka hequr me vendimin e tij në një shtet tjetër. Pra, institucionalisht nuk e dinim këtë gjë. Në Shqipëri nuk ka asnjë pikë ligjore që mund të ndaloj këta njerëz që të luajnë. Moralisht, si prind, si kështu, natyrisht që s'duhet të luante kur ishte në atë gjendje që pa defibrillator. Vetëm muajin e fundit ka bërë kontroll përpara kontratë në Ukrainë dhe ata thanë po do luash dhe i ke shumë mira. Ka bërë dhe kontroll prapë dhe për në Arabi Saudite dhe klubi Arabi Saudite po do të luash, je shumë mirë me gjendjen. Pra, në të gjitha kontrollet që ka bërë Rafaeli, teste fizik dhe të plot, nuk ka qenë asnjëherë me probleme. Nuk i figuronte asnjë në kartelin e tij, nuk do të gjeni një test që thot mos të luaj. Dwamena Rafa nuk ishte një fëmijë 7 vjeç, është një fëmijë, ishte një burr i rritur 28 vjeç që e dinte gjendjen e tij shëndetësore shumë mirë. Për te moralit ton është morali e drejta e tij për të luajtur. Dhe kjo gjë nuk ndodh vetëm me Rafa, ndodh gjithvende. I vetmi vend që e ndalon në mënyrë taksative është Italia. Ai i zgjodhi sfidën dhe dashurinë për futbollin mbi sfidën për jetën. Po kjo ka qenë zgjidhja e tij personale nën kontrollin e vazhdueshëm të mjekësisë ligjore në Republikën e Shqipërisë.
Të shtunën e 19 nëntor, 23 minuta pas lojës, Raphael u rrezua në fushë. Ai e dërguar me urgjencë në spital, po e ndroi jeta.
Dwamena është një nga futbollistit jo rrugëzim, po në Shqipëri, që ka qenë nga më mirë. Kjo është rruga që ka bërë prej këtu, e fures përditshme. E kishte përditshme. Edhe ishte shumë i zjut, komunikante me gjithë njerëzit.
E Shqip, Raphael?
Ai mund të jetë një nga njerëzit më të saktë që e mësoi shumë shpesh shqipen.
Aha.
Komunikante.
Përshëndetje.
Po, mirë. Të gjithë domethënë i komunikante shumë normal.
Si është reagoj komuniteti për lajmë?
I ka ardhur jashtë zakonisht keq. Edhe jo rënd, po që një ngjarje e papritur për panorat tonë në Gërgjin. Bëni shumë mirë që i angeni prestigjës e meriton. Këto komunikime dhe këto që japin populli ka pas komunikuar edhe. Ai ka qenë një shumë i shkëlqyer. Përsi Zoti i di gjitha.
Ishte një humbje e madhe për qytetin ton, për atë si njërin rreth parë, por edhe se humbëm një futbollist të shkëlqyer. Ndjehemi të trishtuar të gjithë. Për Dwamenën mund të flasin ka plot që mund ta njohin shumë më mirë se sa ne, po ne që kishim qytet, ishte vërtet një njeri me zemër të mirë. E kemi qenë një rast, e ftuam për një kafe. Jo kafe, se s'mund të them të po të merrte një diçka për shembull, një gjë të ftoft, na ka përshëndetur me zemër. Nuk mundem tha se me fjalë para ndeshjeve nuk ka shumë. Ishte njëri me zemër të madhe. Njëri që të begeniste, i themi ne këtej, jo vetëm unë, po gjithë qyteti Rrugëzhinës të shprengu shëllime për atë djalë. Veçanërisht unë për shembull që e kam djerë që më ka mjaft keq.
Në ka atë keq gjithë, ai në Rrugëzhinë ka sjell kulturë. Ishte legjendë në futboll. Që e din gjithë bota. Po ishte edhe si njëri i përsosur, i dashur, i qeshur. Kalonte na përshëndeste, u prep në paqe. Legjendë.
I futbollit shumë i shqyrë. Edhe unë mendoj për këta, Zoti pas tudo në paqë, i vijet e emri, klubit Dwamena. Ka gëzu një respekt më, si të përrujqemi.
Qëllimi e tij ishte e patison duhet që të dalë kampion. Edhe inshallah fjala e tij është në veshin e të gjithë sportdashëve, e sportistëve, trajnerëve, e drejtuesve të ekipit. Se kujtojmë sikur si fëmin tonë.
I ri më 28 vjeç
U pret në paqe.
After talking to Raphael's friends, I realized that he should not be allowed to play football. His heart condition was so bad that even the defibrillator was not enough to keep him alive, let alone without it. He knew his days were short. But any doctor testing Raphael would have known that the device had been removed, but still he was allowed to continue playing. While it was his desire to have the defibrillator taken out and to continue playing football, he knew he was leaving his life in God's hands. But when all is said and done, his friends say that his death can teach us all a lesson.
We just pray that players and doctors and governing bodies will all come together and have a uniform understanding of the heart problems, and that we can better help each other.
We are very, very sad. We wish he had lived for a very long time, but I think this is the will of God, as he mentioned in 2018. So I think one thing that we will never forget about Ralph is that he represented God. That is something that no one can ever take it out of him. I think this is a time that our clubs should pay much attention to the players they work with, not only players, but even the technical staff as well, and then care about their health and then their well-being. If there is something that they could prevent, they should do it early as possible so that we will not record such news again.
Unfortunately, he had to pass away in this way. But I also think that once this has happened, the world should take a more serious look towards this. And then even if players think very strongly against medical advice that they shouldn't play and a player feels strongly that he should play, I think the medical advice should prevail. They are the experts and their views should be highly respected, not only by the players, but also by federations, by clubs. They should take these things into consideration before. His legacy should also encapture the fact that you can also be a footballer and have a strong belief in God, have a strong belief in ethics and all of that, but not devoid from the realities of the modern world.
Që ishte njeri i madh, shpresoj që Dwamena, edhe i larguar nga kjo botë, i ka bërë një ndihmë shumë të madhe e Republikës Shqipërisë, Federatës Shqiptare, klubit e Gnat dhe gjithë tjerëve. Unë sot isha në kualifikim me trajnerët në Federatën Shqiptare të Futbollit dhe kemi rënë gjithë dakord që Federata në rregulloren e futbollit të nxjerrë një pikë që të gjithë lojtarët me probleme kardiake ta bëjë taksative, ta ndori shteti, federata që në veprën mos i luajnë më. klubi ka marrë vendim që tribuna Kashitri qendrore do të marri emrin Dwamena për ta kujtuar për kontributin madhor, jo vetëm si futbollist profesionist i nivelit më të lartë, futbollisti më i mirë i huaj që ka luajtur në Shqipëri, por për modelin e qytetarit. Modelin e qytetarit të mirë, qytetarit i cili çdo ditë i puste dorën kuzhinjerit dhe thosh rrofsh nëne në Shqip. Dwamena meriton më shumë. Dwamena nuk do të vdesi kurrë në këtë qytet. Dwamena është djali jon, idhulli jon. Dwamena do të ngelet simbol ndoshta për gjithë Europën me vdekjen e tij për të krijuar dhe për të zgjidhur që mos ketë më vdekje të tilla për asnjë futbollist në të gjithë Europën dhe botën. Ne do të përpiqemi që ky amandament, duke qenë se presidenti i Federatës Shqiptare të Futbollit është kryetari zëvendës presidenti UEFA-s, të kthehet me një nen në UEFA dhe në FIFA neni Dwamena, në cilin të përcaktohet që nga ky shkak, nga ky precedent, të shpëtojë gjithë botën. Pra, misioni i Dwamenas vazhdon të jetë aktiv, i përhershëm dhe shpresoj që do shpëtojë me mirë jetë të tjera, por ai me dashurinë për futboll fatkeqësisht nuk shpëtoi jetën e vet.